Taking a future cruise credit when your cruise is cancelled can seem like the most logical thing to do. Cruise lines are offering these fantastic bonuses, but it's not for everybody, and you need to make sure you know what you're agreeing to before you take and use future cruise credit. In this video, we're going to be looking at the 7 things that you need to know about future cruise credit. Future cruise credit isn't for everybody, and it isn't for me. Before we get into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos. The first thing is that it is not as simple as it seems. You think, okay, I spent $1,000 on a cruise, the cruise line's offering 125% future cruise credit, I will get that money back plus a bonus. That would make sense, but that is not how future cruise credit works. Future cruise credit is normally only for the cruise fare portion of your cruise, and things like taxes and fees will be refunded to you separately. Normally you'll get a separate cash payment for the fees and the taxes, and then you'll get the future cruise credit for your next cruise. If you have opted for a cash refund, you'll probably get that back in separate transactions too. I opted for a refund for my Carnival cruise, and I had the cruise fare back. I was looking at it and thinking, this is a bit short. And then about a week or so later, I had the fees and the taxes refunded to me too. This is a bit strange for us in the UK because we normally just pay the cruise fare and it has the taxes and the fees in it. We don't see that. But in America and across a lot of the world, they are split out. If you do accept a future cruise credit, be aware that that is only for the cruise fare portion, so you might not get as much as you thought. This also means that when you are booking your next cruise, you're going to have to pay for those taxes and those fees. You should have had the cash back and then you have to pay that again. It's just an extra thing that makes it a bit more complicated. It's not as simple as you pay and then you get a bonus and then that's it. Some of them are creating future cruise credit based on excursions and onboard spend. Some are excluding that. So as you can see, there are a lot of variables that come into play in working out how much future cruise credit you're actually going to get. This is relatively easy. It's okay-ish if you booked directly with the cruise line because they know how much the cruise fare portion is. If you've booked through an agent, it's just an extra step that's a bit more complicated because the agent sometimes has to work out with the cruise line, okay, what percentage of that was the cruise fare? We'll give that as credit, we'll give this as cash, we're holding this, we've got to wait for you for that. It can get very, very confusing if you have booked through an agent, but the beauty of booking through an agent is that it's not your problem, it's the agent's problem, so you leave them to sort it out and you just accept the credit or the cash when it does come. The next thing you need to know is that the future cruise credit is non-transferable. I've been on cruises before where I've bought cruise next certificates with Norwegian, and basically what you do is you buy a voucher on board and then when you use it later, it's worth more money. Those ones you can transfer, and I think a lot of people have thought that this future credit would be the same thing. It's not like getting a physical gift card which you can pass around. It's like getting a big amount above your head, and when you book another cruise, it's assigned to you and your booking and it can only be used for you. But if you're thinking maybe, oh, I'll bring my sister next time, it doesn't work like that. It has to be the same people on the cruise. The majority of cruise lines are attaching the final cruise credit to the person. Some of them, like Costa Cruises, are attaching all of the credit to the lead passenger. So if you're the person who booked the cruise for your family or your friends, it'll all be attached to you. It gives you a bit more flexibility, but even still, the rules are still up in the air. They're changing all the time, but the majority of cruise lines, the final cruise credit is attached to the person and you must cruise again. You could actually end up losing all of your money, which of course is a worst case scenario, but it could happen. Say you have a cruise and it is cancelled. You decide to take the future cruise credit, you rebook a cruise for next year, and then you can't take that cruise for whatever reason, you can't get a refund. Once you've used that future cruise credit on a cruise, you can't cancel it and get a cash refund. Even if the cruise line cancels it at that point, the only thing you can do is keep rebooking cruises, keep moving it, which for most of us is fine, but if you're moving to Australia or something like that and you haven't got the time to keep moving cruises, you could lose it. You could completely lose your cruise fare. A lot of cruise lines have updated their cancellation policies. They're making them more and more flexible because they know that people are nervous about booking. A lot of cruise lines now, you can cancel up to 48 hours before, but if you have used future cruise credit, you still can't cancel that for cash. The only thing you can do is move it on. So you've got to be really, really sure that this is the cruise line that you want to cruise with, because as soon as you've taken that future cruise credit and booked a cruise with it, you are locked in there. You can move it, but you can't get a refund. Most of these future credits have a time limit, and you have to think about if you're going to be ready to cruise. I know the end of 2021 feels very, very far away now, but it's not really. If you don't know what's happening with your job, if you don't know if you're going to be able to get the time off work, committing to taking a cruise in 2021 could be a big stretch. So you do have to use these within a set time, and if you don't, most cruise lines will automatically refund it in cash at the end of that period, but I wouldn't really want to leave my money with the cruise line for a year and a half and then assume it's going to get refunded. We just don't know at the moment what the future of cruising is going to look like. I have made a video entirely on what we predict the future of cruising is going to look like based on some guidelines that came out recently. If you haven't already seen that video, I will link to it in the description. Watch it after this one. But for now, you are agreeing that you're going to go on a cruise where you don't really know what you're agreeing to. They could come in with different rules that could make it really difficult for you. A lot of cruise lines are not allowing people to cruise if they're over 70 unless they have a doctor's note. Things like that could become more common, so you wouldn't want to agree that you could cruise next year and then you can't cruise and you can't cancel and you end up in this kind of horrible loop. So it is a risk, and you have to assume that you're going to want to cruise again. For me, that's no risk, really. I'm going to cruise regardless because I love cruising. This is my life. But for some people who are more on the fence, it could be a risk taking the future cruise credit. And if you're not sure, take the money. It is your money. It's all well and good to keep it with the cruise line. It's fantastic. Keep the cruise lines going if you know you want to cruise with them again. But it's not your moral obligation to keep the cruise lines going. Your money, your hard-earned money is yours. If you need it, take it. I took a refund for my Carnival cruise because I needed the money, and I don't feel bad about that. I needed that money and I've taken it back. I'm also not sure when I'll be able to cruise with Carnival again. They're not really in Europe much, and I don't see in the near future me flying over to America, so it just made sense for me to take that money. I have had that refund now and it was all fine. I mean, it's not ideal. I much prefer to be on the cruise. I'm supposed to be on the cruise right now on board the Carnival Radiant, so that's a little bit heartbreaking, but it is what it is. Another thing that we don't know at the moment is which cruise ports are actually going to be open and taking in cruise ships. Some countries are just saying no cruise ships for the foreseeable. I'm sure it will evolve and it will get better, but you can't guarantee that a place you really want to go on a cruise to, you'll be able to go to next year. So that's just another unknown thing. When it comes to cruise prices, we don't know if the prices are going to skyrocket, if the prices are going to crash. I'm going to make a video solely about cruise pricing going forward because I think the prices are going to come down, and I've already seen evidence of some really fantastic offers. But the way that the cruise prices work at the moment, you don't know if taking future cruise credit and then applying it to a future cruise, if you'll even get the same cruise. It might be that you've paid for a 7-night cruise now, and then next year you can only afford a 4-night cruise, which would be horrible. Some cruise lines are allowing you the option to move forward a cruise to a similar cruise without losing anything. Royal Caribbean have an offer at the moment where you can move your cruise forward by a month as long as it's the same destination and the same length, I believe. It doesn't have to be the same ship. That's a really, really good offer, and I think Royal Caribbean have been one of the best when it comes to this. Another one that's been really good is Virgin Voyages. They're offering 200% onboard credit plus extra onboard credit. The prices for Virgin Voyages cruises have come down a lot now, and I think they're now in line with what I think it's worth. So if you're someone who's booked a Virgin Voyage cruise, now you can upgrade to a suite, or you can book another cruise. Very generous offers from them. While we're talking about generous offers, I feel like we should talk about the other side. Costa Cruises, I think, are the least flexible, I suppose, when it comes to onboard credit, because they are not offering any refunds, any cash refunds with Costa. The only thing you can do is get a 100% future cruise credit. It does make it a lot simpler, but you can't get your refund in cash as far as I know. Let me know if I'm wrong on that one, but up until the time of filming this video, you can't get a cash refund. So say you have your future cruise credit in your hand, you go to book a cruise for next year and for some reason it is half price. Fantastic, it's half price. You can split your future cruise credit across multiple cruises. It needs to be the same people, it needs to follow all of the rules that we've already talked about, but you can split it across multiple cruises, which I think is really good. You may end up having to take 2 cruises in 2021 because the expiry is normally the same, but that is not the worst thing in the world, is it? You could try a few shorter cruises, cruise to different places. You're pretty free with your future cruise credit to do whatever you'd like within the confines of the cruise line and the person and everything we're talking about in this video. If you do have your future cruise credit, you go to book another cruise and the price is higher, you're just going to have to pay the extra. The cruise line is more than happy to have you on a more expensive cruise. Of course they are. You just pay the extra bit, use your credit, and then have a fantastic time. On the majority of cruise lines, you can't use that future cruise credit to pay off a cruise that you've already booked. So say you've booked one for next year, you've paid the deposit, and you've got $1,000 left to pay. You normally can't take that future cruise credit and use it for that cruise, because what they want you to do is to book a new cruise with it. It's your bonus cruise, your future cruise credit cruise. Some future cruise credits come with some added time pressures and added time sensitive things. So some cruise lines are offering you extra onboard credit or extra discounts if you book by a certain time. Norwegian are offering 20% off some cruises if you book a cruise relatively soon, which is really, really good. Some people I know have bought amazing cruises by using their future cruise credit, using that extra bit of money plus the discount, plus various other perks and offers that Norwegian are doing right now. You can get a really good cruise that way, but be aware that some of these things are very, very time sensitive. Some of them you have to book a cruise this summer to get the extra money. So they want to start people rebooking cruises. Of course they do. They want to start planning, and I want to start planning too. For Royal Caribbean, there is the move over offer, but if you want to do that, you have to do that really pretty soon, and you need to do it before Royal Caribbean cancel your cruise, because once they've cancelled your cruise, you'll get the normal 125% future cruise credit that everybody else gets, and you'll be, you know, reorganizing and trying to sort all of that stuff out. The majority of cruise lines in the cruise industry are owned by a few companies. Carnival owns a lot of the cruise lines, but that said, you can't use a Carnival future cruise credit on a cruise with a cruise line that Carnival owns. You have to use it specifically on Carnival. So you can't take a Carnival future cruise credit and use it on a Costa cruise, even though Costa are owned by Carnival. Same for Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. You can't use a Celebrity credit on Royal Caribbean credit on Celebrity. You have to stick to the specific cruise line that gives you the future cruise credit. For you, this might not be a bad thing. Some people are cruise line loyal. They love that cruise line and they have no intentions of cruising with any other cruise line, and that's fantastic. If that suits you, that's great. But for me, I prefer the flexibility of knowing I can book with any cruise line. Whoever has the best discounts at the time, whoever has the best prices, I'm going to book with them. I'm very much of the mindset that I'll try any cruise line once. I've never found a cruise line that I didn't like. They all have their different perks and their different downsides, but generally speaking, I think I would try any cruise line once. Being able to pick different cruise lines, even if it is within the same brand, within the same company, can give you so much more flexibility. We don't know what's going to happen in the future at the end of the day. If you are cruise line loyal, stick with that cruise line, take the future cruise credit. You can get fantastic offers. You could book on a much better cruise, and a lot of the cruise lines have been really, really good about this. But if you're not sure, if you want to cruise next year, if you're not sure if you want to cruise on the same cruise line with the same people, I would take a refund. It's your money, take a refund. It'll give you more flexibility next year when we know more about what cruising is going to look like. You can snap up some of those deals. I predict that next year we're going to see the cruise prices plummet. I will be bringing you a video just about cruise pricing, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that one. A massive thank you to our patrons who make videos like this possible. If you would like access to our patron only podcast and behind the scenes videos and pictures, consider joining us on Patreon. Thank you for watching this. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.